Leela was always fascinated by places. The world had forgotten not just abandoned houses, but entire towns, ghostly places swallowed by dust, silence, and rumor. Hollow Creek was one such town. Locals whispered about it in half-told stories. A once thriving place, emptied overnight, after a mysterious accident in the 1960s. Since then, no one visited, no one returned. That night, Leela drove out to the edge of the old stone bridge that led into Hollow Creek. She killed the engine and stepped out, her boots crunching against the cracked asphalt. The air was heavy, damp with the smell of mildew and rain. A strange wind whistled through the skeletal remains of distant houses, carrying a voice that almost sounded like a warning. Her flashlight cut through the mist, revealing shattered windows, rusted signs, and streets that seemed to stretch endlessly into nothingness. At the center of the empty town stood the clock tower, tall and broken, its hands forever frozen at 3:15. Its cracked glass face resembled a spiderweb, fractured but watching. Locals had always called it cursed, insisting that anyone who lingered near it felt time slip, seconds stretching into hours, hours dissolving in a blink. Lila didn't believe in curses. She never had, but tonight, standing in front of that tower, she wanted to see for herself. The first steps inside were eerily quiet. Almost welcoming dust carpeted the floorboards, and each step of the spiral staircase groaned, as though the tower itself recognized her. She ascended slowly, her flashlight painting narrow beams across cobwebs and crumbling stone. At the top, she found the clock's mechanism, rusted but still whole. On a ledge beside it sat a leather journal, its pages yellowed and brittle. The handwriting inside was jagged, hurried. March 14th, 1962. Time flows differently here. Beware the hour. A chill crawled down Leela's spine. She wanted to dismiss it as superstition, but before she could turn away, a faint ticking filled the silence. At first it was slow, almost gentle, then faster, louder. She froze. The clock's hands hadn't moved, but the sound swelled, drilling into her skull. The air shifted, the walls seemed taller, stretched like shadows under moonlight. Outside, the fog thickened, smothering what little of the town remained visible. Lila gripped the railing and hurried down, but with every turn of the staircase, she found herself back at the top. Her breath caught in her throat. The journal slipped from her hand, pages scattering. One line glared at her from the open book. The clock chooses, if you stay past 3:15, you are of the town. Her heart thundered. She bolted down the staircase again, this time making it to the street. But Hollow Creek wasn't the same. Buildings she'd passed earlier had vanished. New streets twisted in impossible directions. Shadows darted at the edges of her vision. Whispers rose from nowhere. Stay. Stay, you belong. Minutes or hours passed, she couldn't tell. Every attempt to escape circled her back to the looming clock tower. The fog pressed tighter around her, thick as fingers wrapping her throat, pulling her toward the center. Each time she dared to look at the tower, she saw the clock's hands twitching, both forward and back simultaneously. By nightfall, she wasn't alone. They emerged from the fog, figures in the streets, men and women dressed in faded 1960s clothing, their skin pale, their eyes hollow. They stood motionless, silent, watching every move. Leela's chest tightened. They weren't alive, but they weren't gone either. They were the town itself, souls trapped in time, and now they were waiting. Panic drove her into the clock tower once more. She raced up the spiraling staircase, desperate. Frantic at the top, she seized the frozen clock hands and tried to wrench them backward. For a breathless moment, the ticking stopped. Silence fell, relief flooded her, until she looked into the cracked glass face of the clock. Her reflection stared back. But it wasn't her. The figure wore 1960s clothing, its eyes empty and hollow, its skin pale as ash, and then it smiled. A whisper hissed from the glass. You belong now. Her hands trembled. She released the clock. The tower shuddered, its foundations groaning, as the fog outside surged like a living wave. It rolled through Hollow Creek, devouring streets, houses, everything. Her scream tore the air, but there was no echo. No sound, only silence. The figures from the street drifted closer, merging with the reflection in the glass. She felt herself unravel, her body dissolving into shadow. She understood. Too late. Time had chosen her. Hollow Creek had claimed her, decades later. When wanderers whispered about Hollow Creek and dared to seek it out, some swore they saw movement in the clock tower window, a pale figure with hollow eyes staring down at them, waiting, and if they lingered too long, they swore they heard it whisper, "You belong now."